I sense things are beginning to kick up a notch. On today's little installment, we'll be talking about the Ravager arc as seen in War of the Sontarans, and how it has developed through this episode. Now, before anybody gets it twisted, this is not a review series, but a theory series, which means it could age horribly, but hey, that's part of the fun. Give it a few weeks and you'll have people in your comment section being like, hey, you know that thing you said, that aged bad. And I'll simply be like, meh. Before we get into things though, I just want to start it off by saying that I hope you, the viewer, are doing alright. It's always nice to check in every once in a while, and I know I don't upload a terribly large amount, but I'm trying to get better at it again. Most inconsistent YouTuber ever to live, am I right? It's alright though, we all get busy. I'd love to know if any of you are working on anything, whether it be big or small. Just let me know in the comment section below. It's all fun and I'd love to know what you guys are getting up to, whether it be big or small. Just make sure you're keeping safe, and I send love to those who need it. Also, I'm still getting over the cold. Nearly there though. Almost. Now, back on with the episode. A lot of the arc-centric pieces in this episode are done as a backdrop to the episode's main plot. As the title suggests, it is about a war with the Sontarans, which takes place in 1855, with other sides of the plot taking place in 2020, whatever year this is set in the present day exactly. The TARDIS has landed, escaping the devastation of the Flux. The Doctor and her companions find themselves in the middle of the Crimean War, where the opponents of the British Army are now inexplicably the Sontarans. But we're not here to talk about that side of things, are we? The episode itself seems to note that, as it wastes no time in ripping Yaz and Dan away from the Doctor. So, with this episode we have 3 stories playing out. The Doctor versus the Sontarans in 1855, Dan versus the Sontarans in the present, and the one that we are interested in. Yaz and Vinder's discovery of the temple. But first, Vinder. We start with him, freshly safe from the Flux, waking up inside this bizarre, mysterious temple, confronted by a strange diamond object asking if he can repair, known as a priest triangle. It is a guardian of the temple, defending the Mori. The temple has been damaged, and it's quickly established that this isn't any ordinary temple. Yaz follows not too long afterwards and curiously comes across one of the Victorian gentlemen from the previous episode, now having a bit of a tricky time, yet remains absolutely cryptic. All is broken. All is porous. This is the temple of Atropos on the planet Time, and it's home to a most interesting species, the Mori. These are multiple beings that are said to have all of time flow through them, for before Atropos, all time ran wild. Now, what could this mean? Could this be in relation to the multiple timelines, maybe? Are they the ones responsible for keeping it all in check? It's curious if so, because, well, 2 members of the Mori are down, and if the Mori are broken, then time shall run unstopped. And it is evil, and it will seek its own. Naturally, that might be taking place in the form of the Flux, which is obliterating all in its path, for it all returns to nothing. It all comes tumbling down, as the ancient fable goes, from the Evangelion Bible, in case you were wondering. So basically, this whole thing is extremely bad, but also quite unprecedented. Like, this is the first time we've ever heard of the Mori. Taking aside the context of these being a new introduction to the series, you have to wonder, have they now been here the entire time? These beings that are keeping time flowing. And surely you would have thought that the Time Lords would have been like, hang about, we should probably keep an eye on these guys. But no, the Doctor doesn't even recognize them. Now this leads me to believe that this is probably a conspiracy that the Time Lords might have tried to cover up right back in the Doctor's division days. For it all probably ties back to them. If the Doctor isn't aware of them now, then she may have been well aware of them back then. I simply find it impossible to think that the Time Lords wouldn't be aware of the Mori and the planet Time. And that's when our boy comes into it. Swarm is clearly familiar with this. Atropos is where it all began, and there was obviously some kind of previous attack headed by him. He and Azur arrive along with a newcomer to their gash, the mighty Passenger, who seems to be quite the unit. Anyway, the two emerge and taunt Yaz and Vinder. The Mori were quantum locked in response to the Ravager's prior actions, it seems like. And you know which other race is quantum locked? The Reaping Angels, of course. And given their established presence within this series, I don't think that's a simple coincidence. The Angels like to feed off time, so if something is going wrong with it, then naturally they'll be very interested to curb it so they do not die out. But I imagine that might be what episode 4 will be covering. And of course, this doesn't stop Swarm from using Vinder and Yaz as replacement bodies, no matter how ill-fitting they are. The Doctor and Dan finally arrive, and they clearly don't know anything about the situation. The Doctor herself seems to be wildly out of her depth in this, which is quite unusual. It all pushes her closer and closer to the edge, but Swarm is fully in control of the situation, and threatens to pour all of time through Yaz and Vinder, which would definitely kill them. It is a devastating cliffhanger, and it all ends just after he does his Thanos snap. And honestly, I have no idea what to expect. I mean, sure, one can chalk it up to spoilery next time trailers that they survive, but the journey is how? How did they survive? How did they get out of this? Now, seeing as this is only 2 days before the air date of the next episode, I won't make a convoluted theory as to how I think they might survive, but I do feel like something will probably be very unusual with what's going on, or it might just be a total bluff on Swarm's part. You never really know. He's a very unpredictable villain in that way, so it could go either way. With that said, the next episode really doesn't look any simpler. Once Upon Time could be even more complex. From what we've seen, we could be incorporating the Division, finally? Get more of that content? If it's going back and visiting the planet in the past, as the title would suggest, Once Upon a Time, Once Upon Time. We've got the inverted Doctor Code too, which implies some kind of mirror universe stuff is in play, but I doubt it will go that far. But we also have this strange suited man who also could be, I don't know, potentially an earlier regeneration of Swarm just by looking at his suit. It does lead me in that direction. Or also, it could be someone of his species, maybe. Maybe if you look past the physical degradation, this could have been previously what his form may have been. You never really know. There's a lot to learn about these people. It's all quite ridiculous, isn't it? But it's also quite entertaining. I genuinely have no idea what's going to occur, and that's the best part of it. And all we can do is continue to guess. But whatever the Time Lord's relationship with the Mori is, it's almost guaranteed to not be good. We'll see what happens in that regard. Anyway, I think that's all we can cover this time. So tell me what you thought of this episode, and tell me what theories you have of Flux as it has progressed. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. It's time to wait for part 3, and I'll be back with another recap and more theories. So until then, see ya! Also, what the devil is this house?